Horn of Africa are struggling with extreme drought. World aid organizations warn the region's on the brink of catastrophe, with more than 20 million people experiencing food insecurity in the wake of 5 consecutive failed rainy seasons. DW's Edith Kimani visited farmers in Thudah Ravine at the heart of Kenya's breadbasket to see how they're adapting to multiple challenges.
This was supposed to be a bumper harvest for Jonathan Kibet, but things could not have gone worse for the Kenyan farmer. First, the rains failed to come in March, then an infestation of armyworms attacked his crop, and most recently, a violent storm flattened his entire harvest.
We will not be having anything to eat, because if this farm was producing, let's say, 15 to 18 bags, now I'm projecting maybe I'll get 3 to 5 bags. Now you see that gap, a gap of around 10 bags. That one will be a serious problem.
Kenya ranks as one of the countries with the highest food insecurity in the world. As a rain-fed economy, the country relies almost entirely on produce from small-scale farmers like Jonathan, who simply can't keep up.
We have been using an ancient mode of doing farming. We have not gotten maybe more enlightenment, or now we can do other manageable ways of farming.
On a neighboring farm, Samson Talam gets to tilling his land. The high cost of fuel has meant he can no longer afford to hire a tractor. It's a lot of work with little return. He takes me to see this year's harvest. It's not promising.
Indian beans. These are beans. Another ones are there. There's another box there. This is the only one I've harvested right now for this year.
The 65-year-old is now at risk of poverty, as even his dairy business is threatened by the scarce animal feed.
The impact of what's happening on the farms can already be felt in informal settlements right here in the city. The price of maize flour, which is a staple in the country, is now retailing for close to $2. But for a population living in extreme poverty, that can feel like a death sentence.
And that was made evident in this viral video, showing a shopper's visceral reaction at a supermarket to the increased food prices. On the streets, the view is similar.
You can't expect someone earning $1 a day to buy maize flour for $2. Children here are going to school hungry. We can't even feed them breakfast.
Shalom, 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 beloved viewers and subscribers. Welcome back to our presentation, Kalkabud Yahuwah, all esteem, all honor to Yahuwah. For another opportunity we have to share with you all. We're the Nazarene of Yahuwah, and in this presentation we're looking at the third seal. based on the click just now, you will recognize that already there are people in the world who are having great difficulty with being able to buy food for their family, and specifically flour was described, a type of flour. We will get into this particular seal and look at how it may impact moving forward. Thudah Rabah, thank you very much for joining. If you are new to this channel and to our presentations, welcome. We are always excited when we are able to share the study of the Word of the Most High with others. And so we will take a look at prophetic scripts or scriptures from the Tanakh. We will also take a look at the warnings of Yahusha HaMashiach and the correlation with all of these, as well as removed books, with what Yahukanan or John saw in his vision in the book of Chazun or Revelation. So we'll get into this presentation at this time.
Amos or Amos 4, 6-9. I was the one who brought famine to all your cities, yet you did not come back to me. I kept it from raining when your crops needed it most. I sent rain on one city, but not on another. Rain fell on one field, but another field dried up. Weak with thirst, the people of several cities went to a city where they hoped to find water, but there was not enough to drink. Still, you did not come back to me. I sent a scorching wind to dry up your crops. The locusts ate up all your gardens and vineyards, your fig trees and olive trees. Still, you did not come back to me.
Micah or Micah 6:13-15. So I have begun your ruin and destruction because of your disobedience. You will eat, but not be satisfied. In fact, you will still be hungry. You will put things away, but you will not be able to save them. Anything you do save, I will destroy in war. You will sow grain, but not harvest the crop. You will press oil from the olives, but never get to use it. You will make wine, but never drink it.
Prophetically, we see that the Nabim or prophets would have declared, as Yahuwah gave them utterance, that because of the disobedience of the Most High's people, there would be consequences. The consequences included famine, drought in the land, lack, doing more work and reaping very little rewards from labor. Laboring on particular crops, but not being able to benefit from these crops or consume them. Food that is stored away. Yahuwah says because of disobedience, he will cause even that which is stored away to be destroyed in war. When we look at this particular seal, seal 3 follows seal 2, which was a seal of war and bloodshed. Naturally, after there is a war, there is hunger and desperation. Yahuwah would have already spoken through the Nabim of old, declaring that it is because many have failed to follow his instructions. The consequences result in lack and famine, not having enough, and even losing the very little that is stored away. It is so important for us to be obedient to the instructions of the Most High. But let's continue.
Ethnicity will fight against ethnicity. Rain will fight against rain. There shall be scarcities of food, deadly diseases, earthquakes in places, and these are the beginning of birth pains.
In Mattathiyahu 24, verses 7 to 8, we see a similar pattern where there was some sort of fighting or war, and following this, there is scarcity of food. Scarcity of food. We see that Yahusha would have already warned that there is going to come a time when a number of unfavorable events will take place. And this includes the shortage of food, the lack of food. And of course, amongst all the other warnings, Yahusha declares these are the beginning of birth pains, the beginning of birth pains. So things are happening and intensifying as time passes on. Intensifying, just as the contractions of a pregnant woman. And as the contractions get closer, the labor pains intensify. As the return of Yahusha HaMashiach gets closer, the pains in this world, the judgments released by Yahuwah intensify.
Chazun, Revelation 4, verse 6 to 8. Also in front of the throne there was what looked like a sea of glass, clear as crystal. In the center, around the throne, were 4 living creatures, and they were covered with eyes, in front and in the back. The first living creature was like a lion, the second was like an ox or calf, the third had a face like a man, the fourth was like a flying eagle. Each of the 4 living creatures had 6 wings, and was covered with eyes all around. Even under its wings, day and night, they never stopped saying, Kodash, 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 is Yahuwah al-Shadi, who was and is to come.
So we are introduced, for those who are new to the channel, new to the presentations, we invite you to watch the first 2 seals. And just to break to say, we would have already uploaded seals 3 and 4. However, based on the desire of various viewers to be able to relate to content that also has illustrations. We know persons learn in different ways and forms. So we have prayerfully decided to redo and re-upload seals 3 and 4, just as we would have with seals 1, 2, and 5. So we have attempted to illustrate what the 4 creatures may have looked like, and I'm sure these would be scary for anyone who would have probably woken up to these or seen them anywhere. Nevertheless, these creatures are integral in calling forth particular events as each of the seals, is broken. So we continue looking at the 3rd seal.
Chazun, Revelation 6, verse 5 to 6. When he opened the 3rd seal, I heard the 3rd living creature say, Come! And I looked, and behold, a black horse, and its rider had a pair of scales in his hand. And I heard what seemed to be a voice in the midst of the 4 living creatures, saying, A quart of wheat for a denarius, day's pay, and 3 quarts of barley for a denarius, and do not harm the oil and wine.
So the 3rd creature, which by description had a face like a man's face. And this, we believe, could quite possibly have indicated the suffering of mankind. So each of these creatures that is calling forth the judgment, as well as the seal is broken, the first 4 linked to the horses and their riders, we believe that even the creatures are significant to what takes place. So with this creature having a face similar to a man's face, we're not told it's a man, but we're told the face is like a man's face. For us, would quite possibly indicate that this particular creature was calling forth a judgment involving the suffering of mankind. Yahukanan witnesses judgment from this 3rd seal, and what comes after the seal is broken is a black horse. Black horse. This symbolizes or represents, based on what is said by the creature following the appearance of the black horse, this represents famine or lack. And it is rarely famine or lack of a particular type. It's not across all food types. We're introduced to a rider on this black horse that has scales that, of course, represent weight or measure. And based on what is measured, wheat and barley, against a denarius would be equivalent to someone's salary or pay for a yom. And of course, yom is day, yumim, days. So in essence, people will eat their bread by measure, by a specific measure. So the times of plenty have passed. And this particular seal judgment appears to be one that will be harshest on those who are classified as poor among us. Those who are unemployed, or depending entirely on others to clothe them, to give them shelter, to feed them, and they may not be able to do so for themselves. So those people appear to be the ones who will suffer the most from this judgment. Those who are possibly able to afford bread, maybe because they're employed, the cost of a small amount of bread will be exorbitant. So much so that people will end up as the Nabi we looked at earlier, the Nabim who spoke as Yahuwah gave them utterance. People will end up doing more work and being able to purchase less. When we are disobedient, when we turn from the spiritual food of the Most High Yahuwah, the judgment usually includes deprivation of physical food. The horse, we believe, is symbolic of power, force, speed. So whatever is coming with this famine or scarcity, or this sudden rise in prices, exorbitant increase on goods or food, this is quite likely going to be a very powerful and swift famine or increase in prices. You saw the clip earlier. That was real news, and there are various others across the world that have already begun to happen, that are happening now, and like the birth pains will get worse. Famine is a natural byproduct or consequence of war, and we said this earlier, as seal 2 would have preceded this particular seal. So just as Yahuwah would have declared that even storage of food he would cause to be destroyed by war, we see where in this particular seal there is lack. There is the struggle to be able to afford something as common as wheat products or barley products, which tend to take up the vast majority of food products on a shelf. And these particular grain products, flour from wheat, barley, even flour from maize or corn, these particular products tend to be those that are affordable across various earning categories. Whether you're earning very little or a lot, they tend to be the go-to items. And what we see happening here is what would be dubbed as the economies of scale. And the rule of this is when supply is a lot or bountiful and demand for supply is low, meaning not many persons want it, then the prices will go down. But once there is a surplus of demand and very little supply, the prices naturally will increase or go up. So we hear where the voice says that a day's pay or a Yumim's pay will have to be used to purchase very little. And if you observe how the weight is allotted, wheat appears to cost even more than barley. We can imagine that a number of the world's largest producers of this product, wheat or barley, may even begin to withhold these products to feed their own people first, and the rest of the world grapples with the limited amount that has been released. And we can see evidence of this from certain wars and rumors of wars that have been happening, that have happened, that are on the verge of happening, and how a lot of persons are feeling the crunch now. Feeling the crunch now, to the extent that some persons would literally prefer to give up their homes, to sell their cars, to have enough money to purchase food. Yahuwah is the source of our provision. Let us not get into the mindset of depending on our finances to feed us. Because in this particular seal, even with some money, one is still struggling to be able to afford the common item. So we explained the economies of scale. Let's illustrate. So we see here the scale being tipped can go either way. But with this particular seal, we find that supply is low, demand is very high, as well as supply of food could be high, but the availability of finances is very low, thus making it very difficult to purchase needed supply. So as the demand exceeds the supply of food or the supply of money, commodities become more expensive. Prices surge. Prices surge. And I'm sure someone watching this can say it's already happening where you are. So we are told through this particular seal that a great deal of people's income, maybe 2 times, 3 times, 4 times, or even more what you usually spend to purchase common items such as wheat-based items, will become so super expensive that starvation may even be the result or the consequence that a lot will face.
Famine is a natural byproduct of war. This is a picture of scarcity of grain. During a time when olive oil and wine are abundant, the grain must be measured very carefully, and it is sold at multiple times its normal price. At the same time, growers are commanded not to reduce the production of oil and wine, items which are considered by most as luxuries. Remember the Nabi or prophet Micaiah prophesied, as Yahweh declared, that there are those who would do the work of pressing oil and making the wine, but not benefiting from their labor.
It seems as though the average person would end up spending a great deal of their living on grain just to fend off starvation and possibly have nothing left over for the finer things. So it's a matter of choosing food over luxuries, food over benefiting from anything else that may seem comfortable. It's a strange type of famine because there are some products that would be so affected by inflation, and people in the vast majority would somehow suffer as a result of this, because it's the common items, the common household food items that are predominantly hit hardest, whilst things that are usually seen as high priced anyway are left to thrive. So the rich, in essence, continue to live comfortably and make money from inflated grain prices. Imagine a number of companies hiking the prices ridiculously high, benefiting and laughing as they bask in this, their ability to be a monopoly or whatever among the little or the minority that have or are the ones who have to supply the majority. So it seems to describe, this seal seems to describe a type of scarcity in the midst of prosperity, where the rich gets richer and the poor gets poorer. It seems to describe the inability to retain wealth or money, the inability to comfortably feed one's family. Let's look at an illustration for those who may need a more vivid picture of what this may look like. So this on your screen represents, let's call it a pound or a quart of wheat. When we did some research, a quart of wheat equals about 1 point something pounds. We just put it at a pound. And we're told that 1 quart of wheat will be equivalent to a day's pay or denarius. So a pound of flour, for example, equals a day's pay or denarius. So let's say 2 pounds of flour can make 1 meal for approximately 4 people. We're just guessing wildly here, but this is not necessarily the situation for all households. But let's say we have a household of 4 persons, 4 people, and 2 pounds of flour can make a meal to feed all 4. 1 meal. 2 pounds of flour means 2 days' pay or 2 UMIM's pay in order to make 1 meal for that particular household. So if this family wants 2 meals for a day or a then that would mean 4 days' pay, because one meal is £2. 2 meals is £4. So that's 4 days' pay just to feed these 4 people 2 meals in one day. Now, we're no mathematicians, but just think of it. A month's pay of about 30 UMIM would cover about 15 UMIM worth of meals for these same 4 people. So an entire month's pay just to eat for 15 days, or UMIM. And it could be even worse than what is illustrated here. This is real, people. This is real, mashpaka, for family. This is real, viewers and subscribers. Let us hear your thoughts. Is this something you are already seeing around you or facing? One of the removed books, Second Esdras or Azara. Some persons do not read the removed books, but as the people of the Most High, we do. Most especially those that we discover would have been found in ancient writings or the scrolls or other ancient records. So Second Esdras is a removed book, and chapter 15 verses 14 to 19 say this. And when we read it, you can tell us if you have seen or witnessed or believed this is happening anywhere now. It says, the world and the people in it are doomed. The war that will bring their destruction is very near. That sounds like Seal 2. Nations will arm themselves and fight against other nations. Yahusha already said that. There will be great political turmoil. Do we see that happening in some of these mega countries? Across the face of this earth? It says, one group trying to overpower another and to gain control. Power struggle, while ignoring the legitimate government. So people are doing this and ignoring what is really right or even moral. There will no longer be free access to cities. Do we have cities like this where you have to pay any toll or any fees or go through any borders to access them? Do you imagine a possible world coming where we will be taxed to go into particular places? It says, because the struggle for power will bring destruction, terror, and total confusion wherever people live. Driven by famine and terrible suffering, people will assault their neighbors and mercilessly plunder their possessions. And we see this happening even in some of these movies, where because of desperation, what is illustrated is a time when people get so desperate that they break into other people's homes to take whatever they would have stored. But didn't Yahuwah also speak of this? By virtue of war, some people will store food and lose it because of disobedience, because of the failure to follow his instructions and follow him. We continue. The vision seems to be indicating a measure of disparity and irregularity in these famines. Some foods will be scarce, while others are abundant. Some people will be sorely affected, while others seem to hardly suffer. Some areas will be hit hard, while others will feel little impact. And we saw that from the very first scripture, where Yahuwah says, I cause rain to pour on some places and withhold rain from some. You know?
We, the Nazarene of Yahuwah, invite you to watch our presentation entitled, Be Prepared, Not Scared. Don't be a victim of the system's bread in circuses. There are a lot of distractions that will cause some to be caught off guard when the events intensify. There is much being said in plain sight. There is a lot of talk about the new movie out Leave the World Behind. Is the system trying to tell us what they plan to do? Let us know what you think in the comments.
Observe that once a seal is open, it remains open. Each seal is added to those previously opened, and taking their toll, greatly intensifying as the end of this world draws near.
Thessalonians, Alaf, or 1 Thessalonians 5 verse 3. When people are saying everything is peaceful and secure, then disaster will fall on them as suddenly as a pregnant woman's labor pain begin, and there will be no escape. These prophetic occurrences have already started and will intensify.
Let us remember, our source is the Most High Yahuwah. We invited you just now to watch our presentation on Be Prepared, Not Scared. There are some interesting tidbits that we try to provide in that presentation on how to be prepared, not only physically, but prepared in ruach, or spirit, prepared in mind, and other forms of preparation. So we invite you to also watch that presentation. For those who think that they're going to somehow disappear in a mysterious pre-tribulation rapture event, we invite you to also watch our presentation on this pre-tribulation rapture. Is it scriptural? Will there be some sort of escape that prevents people from going through very difficult and trying times that have already begun, by the way, and are getting worse? Nevertheless, we continue to look to Yahuwah, our source, and our help, very present help in these troubled times. In these troubled times.
We are the Nazarene of Yahuwah.
And of course we say, Achad, ahabah, which means
One love.
And we thank all our viewers and subscribers, all the family of the Most High, for viewing today's presentation. So remember to smash that like button
Subscribe to the channel
and hit that notification bell so that you may be alerted every time we upload.